Sting, let me show you a small sampling of my black magic. Ha 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 ha! Unjustifiably, a position I'd rather not be in, but the cream will rise to the top. Ooh, yeah, dig it! Psycho Killer is a song by Talking Heads. It's also a nickname of Tommaso Ciampa, who is currently wrestling in All Elite Wrestling. And also, there was a movie about a guy that just went around pleasing all kinds of women, traveling from city to city, state to state, and then filling them up, buttercup, don't break their tart. Wait, no, that's Psycho Filler, and you have to go to a completely different website, possibly something on the nefarious dark web to see that, because I'm not going to tell you what he was filling them up with. That being said, always delete your search history. So Psycho Killer is the latest horror film where Georgina Campbell just tries to drag a concept somewhere across the finish line. Georgina Campbell needs to be saved from her agent. And yeah, I'm kind of tipping my hands to how I felt about this movie because recently I saw Cold Storage. It was tremendous and funny. It wasn't perfect, but was a lot of fun. Also, a guy willing to do anything to win Georgina Campbell's heart. Yes, that is fucking relatable. That being said, I will watch her in anything, literally in anything, as evidenced by Psycho Killer. It was directed by a guy that has done television and also executive produced things, Gavin Polone, who produced Cold Storage, so at least we have that little tie-in. Like I say, he's done some television. He's also executive produced Zombieland and Zombieland Double Tap. I like to double tap. Never mind. Let's just move on from that. We have Jane Thorne, Georgina Campbell, who witnesses her husband shot during a routine traffic stop and goes on the hunt for the interstate/satanic slasher/psycho killer, who, by the way, is played by James Preston Rogers. And that right there is pretty much your spoiler-free premise. If you've seen the trailer, then you knew that already. If you didn't see the trailer, sorry, that's probably, about the best I can give you without spoiling anything else. So this film is pretty much a collection of a couple ideas, and that's all it is. Malcolm McDowell is in this for some reason, continuing his I'm just here for a fucking paycheck, as if Silent Hill Revelation and the Silent Night 2012 film were more evidence of that. And don't get me wrong, Malcolm McDowell, tremendous actor, doesn't take himself too seriously. But good God, man, this is how you're going to spend the twilight of your life and your career? To be fair, he seems to be having a little bit of fun in this. I'm glad somebody did, because this was one of three movies that I saw on Thursday, because it's my one day off to just do what I want before I spend my other day off doing a few things I've left unattended. So, pretty much what you get. You get Jane going full vigilante, eventually, kinda. And I do want to say that the Psycho Killer voice, pretty much being a mashup of Ole Anderson as the Black Scorpion and the Shockmaster and a bit of Randy Savage with a heavy, heavy dose of Canadian. Good grief. By the way, this was filmed in Winnipeg, you idiots. So, yeah, there you go right there. I mean, I'm sure there were some exterior shots, there were shots of it. The whole point is this film is just a few, little bits of stuff that could work, but it's also so fucking familiar. It lures you in with actually a fairly decent opening and a little bit of good camera work, and then it just goes full on stupid where it seemingly gives up. Like, it gives up like 15 to 20 minutes, and Georgina can only do so much. The other actors are fine for what they are, but again, you have to question how this person, this, interstate killer, this satanic slasher, is able to get away with this stuff. Basically, he may not be the absolute smartest, but he's smarter than anybody else in the fucking room. And he's been doing this for a while, and there's a reason why he's doing this. And the reason that he was doing it is far dumber than anything I could have come up with. By the way, this was written by Andrew Kevin Walker. I have neglected to say that name because he wrote The Killer, which was that Michael Fassbender Netflix movie. Yeah, I know it's Fassbender. Work with me here. He did Wolfman, the 2010 one. He also did 8mm. And he did a little known film with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman called Seven. This is from the same guy that did Seven. I'm going to talk about a few reasons as to why this film was doomed from the start. One, the advertising was pretty fucking vague. It did make it look kind of cool, but it also gave me long leg vibes, and it tried to almost be a pseudo Silence of the Lambs, just a little grittier, except it was none of that. Also, I couldn't help but notice that they had the killer shrouded in mystery, like he was a constant walking spokesperson for the Cobra poster. If you get it, you get it. And it had been in development for almost 2 decades. I'm not kidding. This thing apparently was written, or at least, the treatment was done back in 2007. Gavin signed on to direct in 2010. I was 29 years old. I'm 45 now. In 2009, Fred Durst was actually attached to direct, and Eli Roth was attached to produce. As much as I don't really care for Eli Roth, that would have actually been hilarious, because Fred Durst at least would have kept it rolling. What? This movie ends so stupidly, and it's just remarkable how this film goes. It trots across multiple states, yet somehow never gets out of first gear. And again, it just feels so, it doesn't even feel like, super violent, like, oh, this guy's so vicious. It's like he's just doing this stuff. And yes, you don't need a lot of character motivations. You don't need a lot of depth to your characters, but you need something. Even Jane is not really given much beyond, oh, she wants revenge for her husband, which, yes, we can all identify with that. But the thing is you don't believe Jane as a character. She just seems like a paper mache cutout. I don't even think you can cut out paper mache. Moving on. The thing is the movie just spins its wheels and just arrives at such a silly conclusion that it's actually so ridiculous. Like, you wonder how he got away with the stuff, and then, you're like, that's it? That's really it? That's where we're going with this? So, yeah, Psycho Killer doesn't get a fucking recommendation. I'm not getting the spoilers in theaters if you want to check it out, so there you go. Yeah, pretty goddamn terrible. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, basically, after the husband is shot, the guy races off. By the way, it starts in Kansas, which right there, the movie was doomed. I'm sorry to everybody in Kansas that has internet, all 7 of you, because I understand they put a new tower there. But not good. Not good at all. It was in Colby, Kansas, which I assume is an actual place. By the way, so much snow. This was one of 2 movies, by the way, I saw with a lot of snow, which further proves that both were shot in Canada. And essentially, Jane is just now set out for vigilante justice. She goes to a therapy session. Nothing's working. She comes up with more information about this killer. Goes to Illinois, where the sign says, "Welcome to Illinois." That's a depressing sentence. And she talks to another agent. And then also there's another agent played by, I believe, Grace Dove, who would like to see more of her character, because at least she seemed to be trying. She gives more information about this psycho killer, this, satanic slasher. He carves stuff into people's foreheads and everything, and he's doing blood stuff and leaving messages like "open the gates" and 328. And everything, and he kills a woman outside a pharmacy in an old school Dodge Neon. To be fair, if you're still driving a Dodge Neon around in this day and age, one, you must either have a really good mechanic friend, a lot of blind luck, or you're desperate. I used to have a Dodge Neon from 2000, and that thing lasted me till about 2014. That was it. That being said, I digress. It all ties to a guy named Richard Reeves. Richard Reeves, who did some murders at the Crisscross Church. I know it's Christ Cross, but it's just funnier to imagine a Crisscross would be running a church. Well, it would only be either Chris or Cross, because one of them died. But that being said, yes, this guy is just killing indiscriminately, which is fine. He does kill a priest, which does tie into a little bit of something about how he was raised. Oh, my priest made me the man I am today. Oh dear. Jane, meanwhile, is, kind of going on her own vigilante thing, but being a fucking idiot about it. Even though she's supposed to be prepared, she's not. Malcolm McDowell literally is just like some kind of satanic cult leader, believer, something or other, whatever the fuck. He has some beautiful women in his harem, and whatever, and that scene comes up a little bit later. But before that, we get the lady killed in the Dodge Neon. We get the priest impaled through the goddamn confessional. We then get Jane, who finds out about, maybe he was at this hotel and paid cash. Because he has a pill addiction, he's breaking into pharmacies, he broke into a place to steal a bunch of weapons, he has some grenades, he now has some dynamite, he has some stuff, and he seems to be going to a particular destination. It's actually Harrisburg, and if you know what Harrisburg is famous for, there you are. So she ends up actually going to this hotel that he just so happens to be at, but the weird guy doesn't actually recognize that until he said, "Oh, nobody here was a single guy except, oh wait, this one guy that I just happened to find in 5 seconds," because the writing, the acting, the character work is so shit. Andrew Kevin Walker must have just been given like $1 million and then just said, "You know what? This is shit. Let me just phone it in." And I don't blame him. And he cashed his $1 million and possibly left town. But again, this feels like such a archaic piece of media from a bygone era, which wouldn't be a bad thing. I don't mind throwbacks, but you got to throw something back to the 90s or the 80s. They're running back to 2007 when there were some difficult movies to get through. I mean, like in the 2000s, there were some great pieces of cinema, and then there were some films that felt like they probably should have gone direct to video, which is what this felt like. This really feels like something that was plucked from the late 90s, early 2000s, and then thrust here, and it just doesn't feel like it belongs. So she breaks in, or she gets into the apartment or the hotel that is, and ends up, oh, it's this guy. Oh, maybe he's not there, but the shower's running. Then the guy suddenly attacks her. He's wearing this like weird, almost like in a violent nature, or a violent nature, mask. And she manages to somehow escape. This guy has been able to get the drop and kill everybody and just do nasty things. But she manages to get a Bible, smash it into his throat, but somehow he's okay. He throws her through the goddamn window like she's Raven at WrestleMania 17. And then he takes off, and she is in, I assume, her husband's truck or something. This truck that has remarkable gas mileage because you never see her fill up. And it ties to this one particular group called Demon Fist that also did a song about Richard Reeves. And basically this guy is either believing he's Richard Reeves or doing this stuff for whatever reason. Richard Reeves had carried out a whole bunch of stuff at the Crisscross Church. This guy, however, finds Malcolm McDowell and puts a personal ad out, and it's written in code, and then he manages to get to that estate and with the harems and everything. A few beautiful women there, don't get me wrong. Do not misunderstand me, but I just don't understand what this is supposed to be. He tells this one guy, I believe Marvin's the character, "I believe that you believe, but here's what I'm going to do. You gave me information on somebody. I'm going to let you live, but leave and never look back. If you come back, I will find you." And he runs off, and then he has a gas can, he has an axe. He axes everybody in the head, including Malcolm McDowell. They must have not had him for longer than a weekend, and burned everything down. And then he went up and actually sensed something. While the room is burning, by the way, not Jim Rome is burning, he puts his mask up to the window, and suddenly, pew! And Jane has somehow found him and has a sniper rifle and is just picking him off, or trying to pick him off. He manages to get in his car, because he switched cars. He switched from I think it was a Mustang, now it's a Chrysler 300, which, by the way, there's snow. Chrysler 300s handle like shit in the snow. And manages to hit the goddamn truck and, kind of wreck her, but, he shoots at the truck, and somehow the truck's okay to drive. But then, like the message that was, like, found, like, was the enlightened, welcome all fellow believers. And she's trying to tell these other FBI agents about all this stuff because they're investigating Malcolm McDowell's harem and all this shit going on. And she says it's tied to this group Demon Fist. He's going to do something. And then they figure out, a particular thing where he broke into a library and stole a couple books. One was about nuclear power. They put 2 and 2 together and realized Harrisburg, 3 Mile Island, And that's what they're going to do. So his idea basically is to cause 3 Mile Island to blow up because movie. And that's going to be his end game, and he's going to take out a whole bunch of people, and he's going to make himself famous. I assume that's what the reason was. I checked out of this goddamn thing. I didn't really fucking care. But then, just the most hilarious part of this, he gets this guy Leonard Wilkes, who works at 3 Mile Island, or a subsidiary of it. It manages to get in there pretty goddamn easily because the security checks the back of the van not very well and then takes off and they go in there. And then he's going to make him shut down a whole bunch of stuff to cause a meltdown and do all this stuff. And they can't evacuate the city quick enough because he's just so goddamn, he's so psycho. Or satanic, or you just open the gates. He's wanting to do this. The Satanism part was done a lot better in Strange Harvest, which is a film you should check out, by the way. Such a waste of Georgina Campbell in this movie, by the way. Such a waste of her. She manages to convince everybody, I'm telling you, he's in there. We need to get in there. What's this alarm? We're really dumb security. By the way, he's thrown grenades and blown up a couple guards. And he gets that Leonard Wilkes guy in there who's only doing this to save his wife. Leonard shuts all this stuff down. Of course, Psycho Killer doesn't let him go. Shoots him, so that's unfortunate. And then there's this bulletproof glass where they can't get through. They can't get through this at all. Of course, bulletproof glass, you actually can eventually either shoot it or get through it because it's not exactly bulletproof. Nothing is impossible to get through if you're brave enough. I will offer no further information. Just make sure a willing participant. That being said, she manages to get through because he's got dynamite strapped to him, the mask on, and he's got a grenade and ready, and then she finally is able to break through and shoot him. And then she's able to shoot again. The grenade falls out of his hand and blows up. Doesn't blow up in the right spot. And then she manages to actually shoot him again. She shoots him a lot of times. It's to get revenge. And then he is taken to Death Valley, California. Welcome to Death Valley days. The writer is either missing or presumed dead. And this movie was almost DOA. That's the thing, is I was actually frustrated because the opening of this movie with a traffic stop and that kind of stuff actually wasn't that bad. But the thing is, it wasted that. It spun its wheels. It was terrible. And that's why Psycho Killer gets a fucking F. It is really, really bad. It is lazy. The satanic stuff feels like it's been well worn. None of this actually ends up working, and that's really all I have to say about Psycho Killer. So, yeah, it gets an F. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentlin. Until we see Georgina Campbell, hopefully in a better movie, watch Cold Storage if you can. If you're seeing this in the next couple days, it should still be playing somewhere at some cinemas. If you got a chance, go see it. It's funny. It's a great use of her. Plus, she's a beautiful woman. She's really talented. I just love Georgina Campbell. Anyways, until we see her in a better movie again, happy trails to you.